South Africa has been a signatory to the Apartheid Convention. In the past few months, we have signed it. However, we have not implemented an anti-apartheid bill. And it's really important for us to do this. If South Africa, through its parliament, and we have this past week, yesterday presented it in Cape Town, and we're presenting it in parliament during the next few days, we're hoping that this apartheid bill will be signed in parliament. Once we, as the first country in the world, sign this apartheid bill, we are able to oppose the apartheid that still exists in our country. We've just seen this week 2 young females who have been murdered and thrown into a pigsty. So apartheid attitudes still exist within our country. Apartheid throughout the world exists in many parts of the world. But if we pass this bill, it gives us an opportunity to fight apartheid wherever it exists legally. We will then be the first country to push the United Nations to sign the Apartheid Convention. So this is really important. Based on this, I think everyone knows that our struggle could not have been fought without the anti-apartheid struggle worldwide, where countries throughout the world stood up with us and said, this is not on. Apartheid is a crime against humanity. So a few months ago, we had an anti-apartheid convention in South Africa, where we had many countries presented, and all these countries signed a declaration to say, we together as the global community will fight apartheid. Israel apartheid can no longer exist. It must be dismantled. Our chairperson, and I welcome him here, Comrade Reverend Frank Chikane, who heads up the anti-apartheid conference and heads up the South African chapter of the anti-apartheid movement. I call upon Comrade Frank Chikane to come and give us a few words about the work that's being done under the anti-apartheid movement, how each one of us can be part of this movement. We are planning to launch this conference in November, the 29th of November, which is the International Day of Solidarity with Palestine. So, Comrade Frank, over to you.
Attention, please, ladies and gentlemen. There's a child missing, Mohammed Yazid Bagruti. Baghdadi. Oh, okay. Can you please come to the main tent, Mohammed Yazid?
Good morning. They haven't even given me a chance to take a breath. I just arrived from another activity in the church, so I'm sorry for coming late. Let me say thank you very much for the invitation to be with you this morning. Unfortunately, I couldn't join the march. I was marching in the church. But I am here. I just want to say, I mean, all the time I come to Lenasia, I always remember the history we have had in the struggle together. There was no struggle without you. During the United Democratic Front, the movement that we worked on together to make sure we were free. And today we meet because of the endless brutalization of the people of Palestine. When I was asked to come here, I thought, what can I tell you that you don't know? We have talked about this for many years, and the people of Palestine are still oppressed. I just want to say, when I got born, 48 had gone past. And as young Christians, we were taught like this Israel is the Israel of the Bible. And so we'll talk about it another day, not today. But we're made to believe it. And therefore, by design, support it without thinking until you become conscious one day and become aware of it. I thought I'm going to say a few things with you this morning, because most of the ask the question, why are we so surprised about the barbaric actions of Israel in Gaza, in the West Bank, and now in Lebanon? Why are we shocked that the world doesn't lift a finger to stop it? I've never seen a thing like this in my life. I've seen brutality, but not of this extent. I've never seen a war that's waged against people who have no arms. It's missiles, it's bombs, it's fighter jets, and the people they are fighting have no single plane to fight them. I've never seen a war like that. And it's now it's happening in Lebanon, and they have no defenses. The question I want to ask is, why are we surprised? Why are we surprised that the United Nations can't do anything? I mean, I've never seen a thing like this. So much brutality, and the whole United Nations can't do anything about it. The United Nations was established to make sure that this type of genocide does not happen. But it is happening. And why is the case? None of the superpowers are prepared to intervene. Instead, the United States and its Western allies support the genocide. So I would like to say today, I think just focusing on Israel is missing the point. The real genocidal state is the American state. That's where genocide is. They are the ones who are supporting this genocide. They are the ones who are arming the Israelis. They are the ones who make sure they are protected. I mean, as they were bombing Lebanon, we were sitting there and said, yo, do we have a dome actually to defend ourselves? Yeah? Do we have it? And I realized, no, we are as vulnerable as anybody. The United States makes sure that nuclear armed states are protected. Even those who don't have them, if you align yourself with them, you get protected. If we join them tomorrow, they will have a dome to protect us tomorrow. But those who are not in that class of nuclear weapons, which they don't want us to have, by the way, we said we don't want them. But those who are in that class, no war happens on their territory. None. It only happens, all the arms they produce are meant to happen in our territories, not in the territories of those who have nuclear weapons. In fact, this club of people with nuclear weapons, it's like an exile of evil, of people who produce arms, who make money out of it, and make sure they generate wars that never happen on their ground. And you'll not have a war that happens on the ground of the United States. Never. You'll never have a war in Britain. You want to have a war in France. You want to have war in Germany, they are covered. You want to have even war in the friends we had, like Sweden, etc. If you join NATO, you are covered. But the rest of us are not covered. And this is what is happening. It is the empire that's really involved in this genocide. If I was going to bring a message to you, is that the empire is conducting a genocide. If you don't agree with them, you are dead. It's as simple as that. And I would like to say we should not be surprised, because this Western alliance of Europe is the same alliance and countries which carried out slavery in this world. They were responsible for the transatlantic slave trade and brutalized people. In fact, genocide happened during those times. Nobody recognized it. But in fact, they were responsible for genocide against our people. It is the same people who colonized us. I actually checked the numbers yesterday night. By the end, the beginning of the First World War, they had colonized 84% of the earth's land, except that it is not recorded as genocide. It was genocide against our people. 84% of the land was colonized. But watch what happens. Towards the end of colonization, that is decolonization, starting in the 40s, these same allies pushed for a resolution at the UN 181 in 1941-7 and created a brand new colonial settler regime called Israel. It was created 1948. When colonization was coming to an end, they created one. And on that day, they pushed for this resolution. They said Palestine must be partitioned. Arab Palestinians resisted that, opposed it, but they imposed it in any way and said there shall be two states. And I've always said, if they said they took a resolution to have two states, why didn't at least they give Palestinians the state in 1948? Why didn't they do it? No, there was no intention to have a state for Palestinians, and I'll come to that point that just now. And to establish that state, there was terroristic activity. Go and read it. I've gone back to it. Before the official action, there were terrorist groups that went in to brutalize Palestinians and kill them. And they made sure by the time they got support from Britain and others, they really pushed the Palestinians out of their lands. I've been there a number of times. There are Palestinians who still have their keys to their houses in Haifa. One of them came from Haifa, says, here are my keys. I'm waiting to go back to my house where this place is called Israel. That's where my home is. The whole Gaza, it's a refugee camp. All of them had houses in this place called Israel and were pushed out. And everybody pretends like this thing never happened. When October 7 happened, they tell us about the terrorism of Hamas, but they don't tell you about the terrorism against the Palestinians. They don't tell you that. They don't tell you. They don't tell you that those people who broke out into this Israel are actually trying to go back to their homes. They don't tell you that. They don't tell you that Gaza has been blockaded for 16, 17 years before October 7 happened. They don't tell you that. They don't tell the world that in fact they've been brutalizing them, starving them within the Gaza Strip. They don't tell us that. And that's why even the churches, and I'm not here to talk about the churches, I've been fighting with the World Council of Churches to say you can't pretend October 7 happened and that's the beginning of trouble. You can't pretend that, because I've been in the WCC, the Churches Commission on International Affairs, from 2016 up to 2022 now. I was there. I kept on saying on a daily basis, I'm getting reports, there are killings in the West Bank, the people are being killed. No one takes action. When the Palestinians do something, the terrorists have come. So they use their position to define what terrorism is all about. I would like to declare here that the most terrorist state is the state of Israel. That's a terrorist state. And the Americans are part of it. And I'm going to come back to that. Those who are apologists for this racist regime would say, no, but the Arab Palestinians didn't accept the partitioning in 1948. Well, I've got an answer for them. After Oslo agreements, which were a compromise, they said two-state solutions. Up to now, they are refusing the Palestinians to have a state. You can't cheat us. We are here today. During the old days, you oppressed us in a separate places, didn't know what's happening. Today, it's life. We can see it. And we're not going to accept what they are saying to us. The real project, and I'm going to end here, Chair. The real project we are dealing with here is a Zionist project. That's really the issue we are dealing with. We're dealing with a Zionist project that does not recognize that Palestinians are human beings. It's a racist project. And we are dealing here with a Zionist project that does not recognize that Palestinians belong in Palestine. And I would like to quote this Minister of Finance, because for me, the world also ignores this. This guy is called Bezalel Yoel Smotrich. Those who have read about it, he's a Minister of Finance now. He wrote a paper in 2015. And in that paper, the long and short of it is, Palestinians, this is not your place here. Palestinians must submit. You either submit here, or you leave, or you are dead. Go and read the paper. It's there, and people have missed it. You either submit and live under oppression permanently, or you leave this place. If you don't leave, you die. What they are doing in Gaza is to kill them and push them out of the border. Fortunately and unfortunately, the borders, the Egyptians are not allowing the border to be opened, because indeed they don't want this problem to come into Egypt. Yeah, I won't say it. Say it. Yeah, that's yeah. Yeah, then say it. I won't say it. And then they want the Palestinians to run away, leave the place, because they don't want them. They want to push them out. But the Palestinians are resisting. They are resisting to leave their land. They are prepared to die there. And if we don't do anything, they will finish them, because they don't want them there. They want, you saw the new map that these right-wing guys are putting up. It goes part of Egypt, it goes down, it will end up in Iraq and into the North Syria and into Lebanon. What they are doing in Lebanon is to push you out so that you don't stay there. It is their land. This is the Zionist project. If you ignore that, you will never understand what this story is about. I don't have time now to tell you about Bethlehem, which has declared this thing a racist apartheid system. I don't have time to talk about the Amnesty International report. I don't have time to talk about the Human Rights Watch, which has declared this thing apartheid. 2 years ago, I was in the WCC assembly in Germany. And in there, we argued that this thing is an apartheid system. They were still arguing, no, we must have conferences to talk about whether this thing is an apartheid system or not. This thing is apartheid. It has been created to make sure there's no peace. I would like to end by saying two things because of your time. Two things. The first thing is that there shall be no peace in the Middle East until Palestinians are free. There is no way you can have peace there. And it is impossible for the Israelis, I don't want to say Jews, because for me, it's not a Jewish problem. Let's not generalize it. Jews are part of us. They were with us in the trenches. We fought together. We were in prison together. The Jewish rabbis worldwide are beginning to say not in our name. So we need to differentiate between the two. Just don't generalize and all Jews are a problem. We learned this in South Africa. We couldn't generalize and say all whites are problems. Because when there's no dear with us, you know what I'm talking about. And I can keep on counting. Oh yeah, even our comrades who are here. they were all with us. We learned that we can't generalize. Don't generalize because you just make your problem more complicated. This is not a religious war. It is not. Because those poor Christians in Gaza have been bombed. The monasteries have been bombed. The Catholic centers have been bombed. I mean, even convents have been bombed. This is not a religious problem. It's not a Muslim problem. This is about rights of Palestinians. That's what it is about. And so we need to tell the world, there shall be no peace until Palestinians are free. But friends, Palestinians will not be free if we don't neutralize the United States. Now, I've chosen the word neutralize because I want to define it in terms of how we neutralize them. Remember, during the days of apartheid, the whole Western world supported apartheid, including the United States. Remember, we've forgotten. They helped them through Israel to develop nuclear weapons here. We had 6 arsenals of nuclear weapons by 1993 when we agreed on freedom. Those arms were dismantled, the nuclear weapons were dismantled. You remember? Anyone who remembers here, they were dismantled, and where were they sent? To France. They went to France. The United States, Britain, France supported the apartheid system to the hilt. But you know what we did? We campaigned to make sure their citizens take a stand against them. The only way in which we can neutralize them is to get their citizens to take them on. And the only way to get them to take them on is to mobilize them. So we mobilized the American citizens. We went there. We took a risk, and they took a stand until you had that bill, anti-apartheid bill in Congress. You remember, we have forgotten this. We forced the Americans to change a position, and they decided it can't be sustained. This thing is not sustainable. Of course, we made the thing ungovernable. I must confess that we're still trying to make it governable. It's a, we got people to learn how to be ungovernable. And now we must make them ungovernable. We didn't pay rent and services, and we refused to pay to help the system to oppress us. Friends, I was with the Palestinians. They can't do what we did here. You try it, they just kill you. Nobody worries about you. And the only way is to mobilize the world against this system. And that's why we are establishing the South African chapter on anti-apartheid movement chapter to mobilize the rest of the world, like the way in which we got the anti-apartheid movement to mobilize for us. There was no larger international movement I know of than the anti-apartheid movement. I don't know of any. But it was coupled with our UDF here. We made sure that the system doesn't work. We need to make sure Israel can function. We must make sure there are sanctions, there's a blockade, make sure they don't have arms. I read about France that says now they're not going to give them more arms. I read it just recently. We need to force them. And Israel is embarrassing them even more. They have become more brutal in their name. And for that reason, they will lose their legitimacy. We must make sure they don't have legitimacy to continue with this stuff. And I would like to carefully frame my statement about the neighbors and our Arab friends. My message to them is that you think you are okay. You also have a base of the United States on your territory. Let me tell you, when they finish with the Palestinians, they are coming for you. They are coming for you. The Zionist project has no friends who are not the Israelis. It has no friends. And they are going to all face the weapons that are being used on them. Please, even if you are not able to support that struggle, don't support the Americans to carry it out. Thank you very much.
Amanda! Power to the people. And I think that's what Comrade Frank has been saying. We may not have arms, but our people have power. And we've seen this throughout the world where people have been rising. So it's upon each one of us to go to the grassroots, go to our communities, go to our workplaces and start mobilizing for all the struggles within our, again, Cuba, South Africa, as well as Palestine, Lebanon, Syria. So we have a lot of work to do. I think we all have been really proud of South Africa's position. South Africa taking Israel to the ICJ court for the ICJ ruling of pronouncing Israel's occupation as illegal. However, we are still really, really concerned about the economic ties we have with Israel. We export diamonds, we export grapes, and we export coal. Coal is 15% of Israel's energy requirements come from South African's coal. South Africa is the third largest exporter of coal after Colombia and Russia. Colombia has decided that they will not export coal any longer. If South Africa joins Colombia, we will cripple Israel. And this is really important. We need to take this forward. There are also the issue of the ships. So as you know, that in the Mediterranean Sea, many of the ships are being bombed. They aren't able to dock. A month ago, a ship called Katrine was going to dock at Namibia. We got with ammunition for Israel. We got news of this. We contacted our comrades in Namibia. This ship was unable to dock. It's now somewhere in the middle of the sea. It's unable to dock because every time we get news of where they're going to go to, we start discussing, talking to our comrades in other parts of the world so that these ships aren't able to get to Israel. However, there are the Israel ships called the Zim lines that uses our ports. We need to make sure that our government stops issuing licenses and permits to these ships so they aren't able to use our ports, our rails, our air, and that means boycott, divestment, and sanctions. We have to implement, thank you. We have to implement boycotts. That means targeted boycotts of all goods that are coming from occupied Israel. We all know, I think Lenasia was one of the first places where clover was boycotted. We took up the struggle with the workers of Kiwusa to stop Clover, or Molko to take over the company Clover. However, we lost that fight. But it's a fight we need to continue fighting. Identify all products, all companies from the occupied Palestinian territories and make sure we boycott them. We need to now move towards sanctions. Israel, as Comrade Frank says, has to be sanctioned totally in every way possible. And with that, I want to call upon our Deputy Secretary General, Novula Mokonyane, who has been a voice for Palestine, who has supported us over the many years, who has been a comrade in the struggle. And she will share with us where our government is with regards to boycott, divestment, and sanctions. Thank you, comrade.
Amandla, free Palestine, from the river to the sea. Palestine shall be free. Long live international solidarity, long live. Long live international solidarity, long live. Long live the fighting spirit of President Tambo, long live. Thank you very much, Comrade Feroza. Comrades and friends, a very good day, Bra Frank. On behalf of the African National Congress and our allies, we're here today not because we have nothing to do. We're here today because the struggle continues. The struggle continues not only for the people of Palestine, as Comrade Frank has said, but in defense of humanity and justice, and what is now happening, looking at other new developments over the past few weeks. But the worst off is that after having had the apartheid Israeli leaders declaring the Secretary General of the United Nations a persona non grata, the United Nations is still silent. Ordinarily, a self-respecting institution like the United Nations today should have demonstrated to Netanyahu and his ilk that the United Nations is a body of those who stand for peace, of those who stand for justice, of those who stand for humanity. It was 3 weeks ago that our own comrade president in the United Nations dedicated no less than 12 minutes speaking about the plight of Palestinians and even challenged those that are the handlers of Netanyahu, the United States, who even think they have a right to can decide who can represent Africa in the UN Security Council. So being here today, we have to again have an appreciation that our position is a correct one, that there is a need to transform the multilateral platforms, that there is a need to have reforms even on how decisions are effected in the United Nations, but also in other bodies such as the UN Security Council. That it can't be correct that others may be much more powerful than others while sitting together to deliberate on the security of the world and have the veto power. The very issue that we need to fight of America assuming that they are a big brother to every nation and that no other life matter, because even Americans' lives don't matter for the Americans themselves. It is greed. It is about trade. It is about selling of arms. And it is again about being imperialists who do not recognize sovereignty that were gathered here today. And for us as the ANC and the South Africa, we must go back to that historic document that said South Africa belongs to all those who live in it. So is the world. The world is a place that every nation must be given the right to self-determination, the right to govern, and most importantly, be able to defend itself against any tyrant. What we are witnessing is not what all of us as humanity can fold our arms and not engage in. We must even engage Americans in America. We must even confront the system and some of those of our own brothers and sisters who believe that this is a religious war. We must raise awareness, and now is the time that we must move away from just protests and move to action. What are those actions? We've gone to court. We've gone to court. Many thought to go to the courts. And what we must commit in this week is that nobody has the right to tell the South African government to withdraw the case in court. We must resolve that that case must remain, and justice must be seen, and justice must prevail. That's what we must insist on. No nation must warn South Africa, and no nation must threaten South Africa because it assumes it is a superpower. It's actually sheer arrogance. It is again an act of imperialism and the domination of one issue that we must commit, that no nation has a right to determine what South Africa must do. The second one, we ourselves, years ago, we made the world not to touch South African goods. We made the world to refuse to get our citrus fruit. We made Shell to leave, comrade friend. We said there can't be normal sport in an abnormal society. And therefore, because we have a democratic government that has been elected by the will of the people, we must again, as we have succeeded in dealing with the court processes, go back beyond the apartheid bill, Comrade Feroz. Look at our trade and investment policies and create new avenues where we can divert our export and import relationships, because we can't be dependent on one and have an assumption that it is only through those that are now the dominant ones who are trading with South Africa. They are the dominant ones because of a system that was designed to be like that. We must refuse that dominance. We must find new trading partners. We must diversify the routes. We must use the Africa Free Trade Agreement, and we must trade within Africa. We must trade amongst the BRICS communities. And we must trade with those that stand for peace and justice. And therefore, the issues of boycotts, disinvestment, are things that now we have reached that point of no return. To look at that, it is that final push, because the people of Palestine, the people of the world, we all know that at the end of the day, the might of the imperialists, the might of the empire, of using arms, of course, is gonna destroy not only Palestine but the world. And therefore, we need to hit them hard where it matters most. We have coal, we have mineral resources, we have friends, and we must talk to our friends and trade with our friends. That is what we must work together on. That is what we must organize, and we must move from protest to action. Our unity is paramount even on that. Let's allow this government that took this bold stance to manage these processes. It shall happen. It shall happen, and it shall happen in line with our own laws, in line with our constitution, in line with our other alternative trade relations. The third thing that we want to convey also as the African National Congress is that unity is strength. We must call for the unity of all peace-loving people and support the global anti-apartheid movement. But we must also call on the people of Palestine to unite. To unite, because unity is strength. We know it. At the last engagement for our own independence, we had our own conference for a democratic future. That's what we need. We have committed everybody the respect of the recognition of the Palestinian local authority, but working together with everybody. No fragmented movement succeeds in defeating the enemy, because the enemy is united. And therefore, that work that was started by many of our forebears becomes very important today. Palestinians unite. You have nothing to lose but your blood. So that is part of what we must do, and we must use our own experiences of how we can be in a position to facilitate. Comrade Frank, we brought the Sudanese, we brought the Rwandese here, we had brought Palestinians here. We must never tire to unite a nation that has got a common mission. And that is what is also very important now. The third thing that we want to affirm here, is that Gaza, Palestine, yes, we all spoke of a two-state solution. Fact of the matter, we must now be able to say, where do we come from? Because we tried to be tolerant and appreciative, and let's reopen this discussion. Let's open this discussion and let the Palestinians lead in that discourse, so that then together with those that will sit with them in the table, because finally it is the Palestinians that must sit in the table and negotiate and resolve the situation. Everybody must understand that there was colonization, there was a takeover of the land, there was a takeover of the land, and therefore anyone who wants to take us back, we may even have to go back beyond 1948. It becomes very important. Becomes very important because sometimes we are pushed to extremes and we resist to go to extremes when already they've moved to extremes. We need to remind the world. The fifth thing that we want to raise, here in Lenasia, Comrade Frank said when he comes here, he remembers activism. we're saying with Comrade Eunice Chamda here, we must have our dear sisters, our comrades, going to Soweto, going to Alexander, just as we did, going to Palestine, going to the United States, going to the United Kingdom, on a speaking tour to tell our story. We must do that. They mustn't only end in Lodium, they can't end in Lenasia, they can't end in Actonville. The people of Tsakane, the people of Tutuza, in our churches, they must hear the story told. And that's what we have to start doing. Those speaking tours becomes very important for us because they will then raise awareness and our government will then know that it is not alone. It is acting based on the will of the people of South Africa. We have to hear the children of South Africa. We must make the children of South Africa to know the 4 little football players, their story. We have to tell the women of South Africa that maternity wards are bombed by the imperialists in Palestine. We have to talk to business in South Africa that you have other options other than trading with Israel. We must make this a South African cause. If we all are claiming that Madiba is the icon, the issue that the ANC and our allies want to affirm is that our struggle and the struggle of the people of Palestine is a very, very delicate and most sensitive, intertwined struggle. They can't be free, and we can't say we are free. If they are deprived of their rights, we must also say our rights are deprived. We must deal with the United States of America. We must deal with the United Kingdom. We must appreciate what the UAE and other countries have now done just a few days to say nobody must fly over their own airspace. We must be able to become ambassadors for Palestine. Every voice matters. We did it with the Million Signature campaign, calling for the release of Nelson Mandela. We crisscrossed the world. It can't be a permanent campaign, the struggle for the freedom of the people of Palestine. I was saying to other comrades here, the first time, Comrade Frank, when you were still in our township, I was 16 years old. Today I'm 61 years. I was 16 years when we started picketing in Azadville. 16, picketing in Azadville, free Palestine. It can't be a permanent song. We must reach a point where we celebrate the freedom of Palestine. We must reach a point where we celebrate the freedom of Palestine. And it is only through peace-loving nations like South Africa and many others in the world, we stand together. We call for the transformation, the reforms of the multilateral institutions. We look at economic interventions that we must apply against the apartheid Israel. We must also take it to the handler, the United States of America. We must take it to the master, the United States of America. And we must also remind the United States of America that they are not a super state. They are not a super state, and therefore they can't also, now that deliberations are there at an advanced stage, to say Africa must have 2 seats. They must determine who must do that. It means we must also work together and sensitize many of our own friends and comrades, Frank, in Africa about the risk of us being used to undermine the AU. We must take the campaign to the African Union, even on the cause of Palestine, even on the cause of Western Sahara, even on the cause of Cuba. We must use our institutions and not allow others who want to come and make use of our institutions or undermine them. It is only through the African Union that there will be a decision as to which two countries must serve in the United Nations. But if it is without doing away with the veto powers, it's as good as us not being there. If it is still with the dominance of America, it is as good as us not being part of it. And that is what we must be campaigning for. Every nation must say, we matter, le rona re batho. We matter. We may be a nation of 5 million, we may be a nation of 50 million, we may be a nation of 200. We may not be economically advanced because we were exploited by them. We were colonized by them. We are developing, but we have a right to serve. We have a right to represent ourselves. As I sit down, this afternoon we're going to Regina Mundi. The NC has invited all friends of Palestine. And the reason again about that is because we want to show the world that our struggle continues. We will raise the plight of the people of Palestine in those historic venues that were our gathering points for our own struggles, Regina Mundi, in Soweto, so that then even the people of Soweto have an appreciation, but also our brothers and sisters from Palestine must know that you've got a friend in Soweto. You've got a family in Kagiso. You've got a family in Katlehong. It is about humanity. Let's take it beyond where we are, and we are stronger in raising the voice, and let our voices multiply, and let's call for an end of us always just protesting. We want to move to action. It's time to act. We have acted. It's time to go to the world, but we must start here in South Africa. Every corner of this country must know, and every corner of this country must have an appreciation of why we stand with the people of Palestine. A minority can never dominate a majority forever. So it can't happen. It has to come to an end, and it can come to an end if we carry our people along. And that's what we have to do, from protest to action. That's what we are about. Long live the people of Palestine, long live. Viva international solidarity, viva. Viva international solidarity, viva. Amandla, Amandla. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Comrade Nomvula, for those very powerful words. I think we all take that to heart. Africa is an important continent, an important player in the world. We need to look at our other comrades on the African continent. Right now, there's a genocide happening in Sudan. We need to know what is happening there. How do we mobilize our comrades in South Africa to support our comrades in Sudan? What is the history? What is the situation? Why is there a genocide? So I think that is really important. If we go home with anything today other than Palestine, let's go home today with our brothers and sisters in Sudan. So with that, and we have all mentioned what has happened at the ICJ, the courageous steps South Africa has taken. We have listened to the president in the past few weeks saying Africa is an important player and Africa needs a table at the United Nations. I'm now going to call upon Comrade Alban Buertes to share with us what is the status of the international fora. What is the stage looking like? How can we understand it? And what can we as communities do to take the advisory rulings coming from the ICJ? How can we take it forward? How can we make sure that those rulings are implemented? Because it's an important ruling around the third states. So we need to understand what is that ruling and how do we implement it. Thank you.
Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! From the river to the sea! From the river to the sea! Palestine must be free! Palestine must be
Amandla. Amandla. Aware to. Aware to. Long live the undying fighting spirit of Yasser Arafat. Long live. Long live the undying fighting spirit of Yasser Arafat. Long live. Forward with the resilient fighting spirit of the Palestine people. Forward. Phambili with the resilient fighting spirit of the people of Palestine. Phambili. Phansi amagwala, phansi. Phansi amagwala, phansi. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here from government to actually give a message of solidarity to this gathering. Thank you very much, Comrade Rosa. And thank you very much, Frank, Reverend Shikani, for your persistent loyalty to the cause of all freedom-loving people in South Africa and internationally. You have been a resilient, a fortified figure, an opinion maker, and a reference point for the new generation of young people to come up. What it means to follow in the footsteps of giants like Oliver Tambo, Yusuf Dadu, Ahmad Katrada, Nelson Mandela, Walter Sisulu. Ladies and gentlemen, I also wish to acknowledge the ANC's Deputy Secretary General, Comrade Nomvula Mokonyane. She just returned from the United States of America, ladies and gentlemen, to receive what the Americans thought was an award bestowed and conferred on her for being one of the 100 most influential people of African descent in the world. What they did not know, Comrade Nomvula, what they did not know is that that reward, comrades, was because of a resilient, undying loyalty to the cause of self-determination of the Palestine people. So we thank the progressives in America for recognizing the resilience and fighting spirits of comrades like Comrade Mama Action, Comrade Imvula, that are using a position, ladies and gentlemen, in international organizations such as your International Socialist League to champion and speak on behalf of the people of Palestine. Enkosi kakhulu ndiyabulela mama. I also, Comrade Charles, from the EFF, we're in solidarity, comrades. As a government, we champion the plight of self-determination. And, it is just good for us to know that we don't lead ourselves, ladies and gentlemen. We have been told that the position on Palestine of the South African government has been because of there was an election in May 29. We have been told that the government of President Ramaphosa took these decisions because they wanted to get votes and because of populist tendencies. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we are celebrating the life of Oliver Tambo in South Africa. And it was Oliver Tambo and Nelson Mandela that have said that in their lifetime, the freedom of the Palestine people, the decolonial process of the Palestine people will be achieved during their lifetime or beyond, ladies and gentlemen. And today we want to indicate to you that we have a government of national unity. And one of the key pillars of that government of national unity, we speak about the centrality of human rights, ladies and gentlemen. We speak about being loyal to the 1996 Constitution, which speaks about the fact that there shall be peace, there shall be freedom for all peace-loving people. So our commitment today is with the Palestine people, with those people in Lenasia, Orange Farm, Enate, Kagiso, Soweto, Tshwane, Lodem, that are consistent on the struggle. The important issue, ladies and gentlemen, in 1948, the Prime Minister, Daniel Malan, and the native minister of the apartheid government, Hendrik Verwoerd, introduced the apartheid doctrine and the ideological orientation of what the apartheid state is. Today, ladies and gentlemen, South Africa are free because of the protracted struggle that like-minded people like yourself, organizations such as Palestine, Solidarity Alliance, the progressive movement broadly, women, young people, the elderly, have waged to undermine the apartheid state. So the 46 years, ladies and gentlemen, of a coherent and consistent struggle against apartheid since 1948 have brought the apartheid government to its knees in 1994. Today we stand, ladies and gentlemen, and reflect on the consequence of the 1948 Nakba, which is a Nakba that have resulted in the land dispositioning that sought to delegitimize the indigenous people of Palestine and their rights. And we have seen, ladies and gentlemen, that since 1948, the then British Empire have played a catalytic role to ensure there's an embodiment of Zionist ideological orientation by the Israeli state. We, and our message to you is 76 years after the 1948 Nakba, the just cause for Palestine self-determination, ladies and gentlemen, is a freedom struggle that in our lifetime it must be achieved. We should not get tired, we should not relent, we should not give up, ladies and gentlemen, on this very just struggle for the Palestine people. The only voice of reason as we stand today, the champion on behalf of the global south, ladies and gentlemen, whether you speak about the GRULAC member states, those countries from Latin America and the Caribbean, whether you speak about the 22 Arab members league states, the champion on behalf of the global south, internationally, whether you speak about the United Nations General Assembly, the United Nations General, the United Nations Human Rights Council, the International Criminal Court, the International Court of Justice, is the South African government. That is the champion of the global south, ladies and gentlemen. In fact, what we have done, Reverend Shikane, is that all diplomatic missions, if you go to attend the World Health Organization, if you attend the World Trade Organization, you are obligated, ladies and gentlemen, to speak about self-determination of the Palestinian people, notwithstanding the item on the agenda. So we have been very much consistent in relation to those issues. We are concerned, ladies and gentlemen, that the escalation in the Middle East is a very deliberate exercise and a ploy to try to woodwink the world into a situation that the oppressor have become the oppressed. And I think for us, what is key and critical is that South Africa publicly, through our International Court of Justice application, and through the International Criminal Court, have publicly exposed, but moreover, ladies and gentlemen, have publicly humiliated the Zionist apartheid regime of Israel. That is what has happened. And that is why there is a consistent appeal in the public discourse that because there's a new government in South Africa, that there should be a reconsideration of us reconsidering the ICJ case. What I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, here, without any grain of miscalculation, is that one of our foreign policies in the South African government speaks about global solidarity. The fight of self-determination of the Palestine people is ingrained within the UN Charter. And if there is one policy that this government under President Ramaphosa is not going to change, is not going to alter, is not going to relook, is not going to reassess, is our unflinching solidarity with the Palestine people. Countries of Europe such as Ireland, Norway and Spain, who now have joined the other 143 UN member states out of the 193 that have formally supported now the recognition of Palestine's statehood. So we want to thank them, and their decision, ladies and gentlemen, have then resulted in a vote at the United Nations General Assembly, UNGA, to give the privilege of statehood to the Palestine people. But that decision of UNGA, ladies and gentlemen, has then been vetoed by the UN Security Council, in particular by the United States of America. So the reform of the UN Security Council, ladies and gentlemen, is paramount to our struggle. In the form of the People's Republic of China and the Russian Federation, who is unflinching, standing with South Africa as it relates to the plight of the Palestinian people. Equally so, ladies and gentlemen, we have now seen France and we have seen the United Kingdom that have actually, ladies and gentlemen, supported Palestine's statehood, and they have just recently taken a decision to stop the supply of war machinery and equipment. I'm communicating this, ladies and gentlemen, because Comrade Comrade Parks, Comrade Lamola, and the President have just returned from the US, where there was engagements with the United States congressmen and women. We have engagement with your black congressmen and women, your black caucus, and a number of progressive organizations in relation to them, their role locally in America, ladies and gentlemen, to bring about a change. Our new ambassador to the US, which happens to be a comrade of the Palestine people, will continue to become a force multiplier of making sure, ladies and gentlemen, the American people understand the central nature of the Palestine struggle for us as South Africa. I wish to conclude, ladies and gentlemen, with two important announcements. You have seen that there was an accusation from the state of Israel that a number of those workers were part of Hamas, and as a result, 15 countries, the major funders, Comrade, this refugee agency, we are elated, ladies and gentlemen, that a number of those countries, after we have appealed to them through normal bilateral engagements and multilateral forums, have re-engineered their funding to UNRWA. And that is the consistent work at the diplomatic level that we are doing. Ladies and gentlemen, you know, if anyone asks you why you are supporting the Palestine people. I want you to remember the following names, ladies and gentlemen, and speak about these people. The first one, ladies and gentlemen, it's Muhammad Abu al-Qamsan, age 31 years old, a young man from Gaza who was married to Jamam, his wife. On the 10th of August, ladies and gentlemen, just over 2 months back, on the 10th of August, Muhammad and Juman gave birth to two newborn twin girls, Asar and Asel. On the 10th of August, they gave birth in Gaza amidst the genocide to these twin girls. On the 13th of August, ladies and gentlemen, as Muhammad left Joman and his twin daughters, Asar and Asel, at home in the apartment building, en route to pick up the birth certificates of his twin daughters, a rocket of Israel struck the center of town and killed Asar, Asel, and the mother Jew. So in Gaza, ladies and gentlemen, the likelihood of a newborn child to be issued with a death certificate before they get issued with the death certificate is a painful reality. This fight is not a religious fight, ladies and gentlemen. It's not a religious fight. It is nothing to do with Muslim Palestine. It is everything to do with self-determination. We would want to come back and work with Palestine Solidarity Alliance as we continue to go to places next door in Orange Farm. We would want to go and speak to our people in Orange Farm of the plight of the Palestine people. We want to go and speak to the people of Enadale. We want to go and speak to the people of Lawley, ladies and gentlemen, to the plight of the Palestine, so that we can debunk this issue about a religious tension. I am a proud Christian. My God, ladies and gentlemen, have never told me to kill because of a just struggle of self-determination. In fact, Reverend Chikani will confirm, one of our key 10 commandments speaks about thou shalt not kill. More than 42,000 people have been maimed, have been killed, are lying in open graveyards. Look at the war in Ukraine, ladies and gentlemen. 31,000 people have been killed, but all hell broke loose in the world when the Russian Federation attacked Ukraine. We have not seen the outpour of emotions as it relates to the Palestine people. And on behalf of your government, Honorable Member of Parliament, Comrade Charles Nuance, we are making a commitment that we will become a force multiplier on behalf of the Palestine people, ladies and gentlemen, for as long as we live. Thank you very much.
Thanks, comrades. So if everyone do not know, this is our Deputy Minister of the International Relations Department. Please give him a big warm welcome. Thank you. So I've been told that the video is now ready, and if those that have come late have not heard, this is a video based on the inspiring words of a Palestinian martyr, Rifat al-Arid and Mohammed Mousa. It's led by Jeremy Karodia of the Mavericks together with Mehtab. So I hand over to you.
And the sea swallows its sound, shed a tear into its own. Each time that I cry, hush as we would stone. In yesterday's little ones, echoes of silent voices, while the faces unknown. When the sky disarms itself, a small piece of heaven comes upon the ruins as I return to my grave. If I must die, will you tell my tale? You must live to time. If I must die, let it be a tale. Let it bring home to bring back love. If I must die, we don't speak your words. The dozens you don't hear, screams above, you're alive no day. I know to leave my mother in lost home, to sleep forever, to speak the tongue of birds, rise to heaven I knew, with no name or equal, as though I'm newly born. If I must die, we tell my tale. You must live to tell my story. If I must die, if I must die, let it be a tale. Let it bring hope to bring back love. If I must die, if I must die, we tell my tale. You must live to tell my story. If I must die, if I must die, let it be a tale. Let it bring hope to bring back love. If I must die, if I must die.
Hello. I think that was really powerful. Aside from the beautiful and powerful words, all of those drawings you see are not photographs. It was drawn by a young fine artist from the University of Wits by hand. So it's really powerful. We'll do another launch where we can see the graphics a bit better. Hopefully we'll do that quite soon. I now want to call upon, or before I even call upon our very next esteemed guest, I just want to say that a lot of all the people here, including comrades from Poch, comrades from Polokwane, the South African Jews for Free Palestine, Palestine Solidarity Campaign, and lots of other individuals, healthcare workers for Palestine, education for humanity, all have contributed contributed immensely towards the people of Palestine. We have raised over 2 million, which we have handed over to the gift of the givers. And we are very pleased today to have Dr. Malek, who is based in Egypt, who has continuously given us updates about what is happening at the border, what is the situation like, and it's something to hear. And I'm glad that we have Dr. Malik to talk to us directly about this. But I think, and thank you, and please give all of yourselves and your organizations that, as the video says, we will rebuild Gaza.
Actually, I can't add anything more about, after all this spiritual and the powerful spirits that we hear. And really, I have to thank all the comrades and the guests who spoke today. Because really your efforts is the thing that keep this spirit going, and the thing that grant even the new generation will carry on, that one day we will see our lands free, inshallah. From the depth of my heart, I thank you for your interest and presence today. Even though it is your time for rest and relaxation this weekend, by being here, you have shown that your comfort lies on feeling the suffering of others and empathizing with humanity. Even if the distances separate you. For 75 years, the Israeli occupying state has engaged in numerous unjust and racist practices against the Palestinian community, exploiting the silence of international world, international community, and the fear of the hypocritical world. Throughout the duration of this ongoing tragedy, the Palestinian people, like any other people, yearning for freedom, have tried to confront this occupation with resistance and resilience. They have sought to convince the world that this Zionist regime doesn't respect humanity nor appreciate the human rights. So that's why the Palestinians, they keep this spirit. They try every while to send messages to the world to show them that we still alive and we will carry on, we will try. Although the Zionists, they achieved something, they tried now to show all the world that this young people, these young guys, they are terrorists. But no one tells the true stories. Those people, they lost their families, they lost their rights, they lost their land. So it is the normal reaction that we should expect, that they should also fight again. For the past 17 years, the state of Israel has imposed a complete siege on the people of Gaza, depriving them from medicine, food, and freedom to move or to communicate with the other world. And we have hundreds of stories of the doctors, students, people who've been deprived even to travel, to continue their certificate. Sometimes, in some point, those who tried to leave Palestine, the Israelis, they blackmailed them. They told them that if you want to leave now, you have to write like an affidavit to say that you are not going to come back at least for 5 years or 10 years sometime. As the Palestinian people remained steadfast and sought to resist this oppression, the Zionists decided to escalate their violence, killing, and destruction, ignoring all humanitarian norms and the sanctity of human life. Unfortunately, the stance of many countries has been negative between fear and betrayal. However, this doesn't apply to South Africa and its free people. South Africa, through its government, through its people, through its institutions, values freedom and human rights, rejecting injustice and refusing to appease the killer and the criminals. This is one of the secrets of our strength that we will not compromise. The people of South Africa have previously stood strong against the apartheid regime until they successfully dismantled it. And also, you still remain strong today in defending the victims of Zionist apartheid. Gift of the Givers has always been at the forefront of serving humanity and aiding suffering communities. As we speak now, there are thousands of families in Gaza who lost one or more of their members. There are now thousands of injured individuals. They are in pain now, and all the international community, they know that it's live now. The genocide is live on the TVs. They are suffering without access to medicine or treatment. Thousands of mothers watch their children starve because the Zionists prevent food from entering. Thousands of fathers see their children shivering from fear and from cold because the Zionists have destroyed their homes and displaced them. And yet, we still have some politicians and some leaders in the world keep silent or try to give us another justification for what's happening now. Because we are part of you, as Gift of the Givers, carrying the values and identity, carrying the values and identity of South Africa. With your support and donations, we have provided everything we can through our team in Palestine. We have coordinated with the government and the relevant authorities to send aid despite the suffocating blockade. Unfortunately, only a small number of relief supplies have been allowed in. And we continue to strive to provide that what we can through our partners from international organizations or influential companies. Since the beginning of the war, we have implemented numerous projects distributing of food baskets or food parcel, drinkable water, cash assistance. By the way, from the first day of the war, it was, clearly that the Israelis, they started to target the water resources, the boreholes. They started with the power stations, it is not a military target as all. What is the military goal that you can achieve when you attack the hospitals inside Gaza? What is the military purpose? So also we provided cash assistance for the affected people and the volunteers in the health sector and the municipal workers. We have contributed to establishing and setting up camps for the refugees. We provided medicine and medical supplies. In addition, we have set up medical points in the refugee camps to offer healthcare services. We also opened a field hospital and helped to restore and to rehabilitate 3 hospitals. We provided 2 ambulances. Of course, we didn't forget the Palestinians who were evacuated from Gaza. In Egypt, where we supported hundreds of injured individuals, students, and displaced persons, Currently, we are working on preparing kindergartens and educational classrooms for Palestinian children in Egypt so they don't miss out on their education. Because we thought that, it will take 1 month, 2 months, but after all these distractions, we need to work hardly to grant the basic needs of those who were evacuated from Gaza. Education is a very crucial part of their psychological and emotional rehabilitation. We are also organizing a physical and educational support program for over than 5,000 students, Palestinian students in Egypt. We aim to care of some of the Palestinians who have been affected by the war and have arrived to South Africa. And of course, you have heard about the scholarship initiative we offered to the medical students from Gaza in collaboration with the University of Cape Town and Wits University. Dear brothers and sisters, comrades, winter is approaching in Palestine, and we are now focusing on providing winter necessities for thousands of Palestinian families. I would like to thank PSA and the organizers here and all the organizations who contributed with us, Ashraful Aid, Zanzaf, because by your donations, we have already started to provide some, blankets, clothes. We all feel the agony and the sadness when you see children suffering from the cold. In conclusion, I would like to affirm that we will continue to provide aid to all victims despite the challenges and the dangers. I think you know that last November, we lost our office manager in Gaza, Dr. Ahmed Abbasi, who was targeted by the barbaric Israeli airstrike. By the way, he had the chance to evacuate his place. And actually, it is one of our policies. We told all of them, all of our workers there, that your safety is very important. And we understand if you want to leave and even to stop your work. But believe me, all of them, they they waited in their places. Ahmed Abbasi, hardly we convinced him to leave his place because every time when I was talking with him, when I getting voice mail from him, I hear that lashes and the bombing. So he was saying, no, I prefer to die in my home. Then I convinced him before 3 days before he evacuated, 3 days before, he said that I won't evacuate now because I still have some project. I still have some parcels, some aid that I have to give it to the community. Then I can now think about myself. But the destiny is something that we can't overcome. Our team continues its work despite displacement and limited resources. Our message to you is this. As the tyranny of the Zionists and the brutality of the occupation increase, we will increase our relief efforts and defend, inshallah, the humanity of the Palestinians. And all of that, of course, won't be happening without your support and without your donations. We draw the history together, and we believe one day all this tragedy will be ended. And by that time, we will be the first witnesses to say that you are the real heroes who helped us in this hard situation. Thank you so much.
Assalamu alaikum. Thanks, Dr. Malik. Before you go, this is our audience of witness because we are not a charity organization. We do not do welfare. And that is why we partnered with Gift of the Givers. We know you have people on the ground. But there's a lot of goodwill and people have given us donations and funding for Gaza. They'd opened their hearts. So we are declaring today publicly that we have already transferred over 2 million for the winter project. Thank you so much, Dr. Malik. Comrades, friends, we know it's late. We know that there's a lot of patience from the people that have stayed with us. I ask your indulgence for a few more minutes as we go into the final part of the program. As you can imagine, there are many people who feel strongly for the Palestinian cause and who have messages of support that they would like to present. So I'm going to invite, and in this, also give you a sense of the broad spectrum of people who are active in the solidarity movement. Besides the PSA and the PSA Youth League, which many of you in Lenasia know, there's a big group. We have the Friends of Palestine all the way from Lodium, Comrade Naim and his team. They have a big program next week. I'm looking for my friend Nasara Saad. She's from the Lebanese community, and they are organizing a protest next week as well at the Israeli, and they need our support. In 10 days, 2,000 people have been bombed and killed and are also lying under the rubble in Lebanon and in Beirut. The expansionist nature of this colonial state is going to continue. So they have our support. I'd like to, our friends from Egypt, acknowledge the acting ambassador who's with us. I'd like to also acknowledge that we have Comrade Rina from the South African Jews for Free Palestine. Okay. And I'll call on now Comrade Carl Niehaus, and we'll just take a seat, and then we're going to call on Nasira from Educators from Humanity. But before the first message of support, it's more a call to action. I'd also like to acknowledge Uncle Iqbal. Everyone knows him. He's leading the fight, the writing from the MRN, the Media Review Network, which is challenging the lies and the Hasbara at every turn. A very important position and organization in our community. Uncle Iqbal, thanks for being with us. If you want to say a few words, you're okay. All right, Nasira, you can join me as well. And now I'm going to call Comrade Loyiso, because there is a campaign, and we need everyone's support for this campaign. Comrade Loyiso, can you give us the campaign?
Amandla, free Palestine. Thank you very much. The acknowledgements were done, and for the sake of time, I observe all the protocol of the leadership. On the 28th of November in 2018, the ANC caucus in Johannesburg led a campaign to have a renaming done. We want to rename Sentin Drive to Leila Khalid Drive. The motion succeeded in council. Now the public participation process is open. Now you understand in terms of bylaws and processes of renaming, we have to have people submitting petitions for the renaming. Already we are receiving some objections from civic organizations, obviously linked to the US. But we need everybody, and we're going to share the link as well as the email address where you can be able to please forward in your groups. It literally takes 1 minute for you to sign the petition or send an email so that we understand, because the DSG spoke about action now. So this is part and parcel of the action in terms of solidarity for human rights and for making sure that we as South Africans give an opportunity for all of us to participate. And lastly, the US Embassy is on Sentin Drive. Can you imagine when they are forced to change their letterheads? They are forced to change their business cards because they have to abide. If they want to remain in the city of Johannesburg, they have to abide or they have to ship out and go elsewhere. So that is our cause. And it's closing on the 15th of October, and we call on everyone to support and we'll provide the information. Amandla! Awe two! Viva Leila Khalid Drive! Viva!
All All right, we're going to ask there's a few more messages, so it's the two on the stage and two more. So please bear with me. But just to say, Saudi Arabia, and this Bassam told me, say Saudi Arabia gave women the right to drive just a few years ago. The Palestinians have been progressive. They were riding planes a long time ago. Amandla. Okay, Comrade Kam, over to you. And it is about solidarity for Palestine. So we are welcoming the EFF with us today. Thank you, sir.
Viva Palestine, viva! Palestine shall be free from the river to the sea. Down with Benjamin Netanyahu, down. Down with the infidel Joe Biden, down. Thank you very much for the opportunity to bring this message of solidarity. And I start by making the statement that Palestine shall be free from the river to the sea. I've been given a framed photo of the map of Palestine, exactly what we see here behind us. And I heard what the Deputy Secretary General of the African National Congress, Nomvula Mokonyane, said, that we may have to go back to pre-1948. We in the EFF say we must and we will go back to pre-1948 because we understand that Palestine will be free from the river to the sea is not just a slogan. It is a true commitment to the geographical integrity and freedom of the people of Palestine. It is also an understanding of the suffering that the people of Palestine have gone through the whole Nakba, up to this very day. And as I stand here on behalf of the economic freedom fighters, I also extend our solidarity with the people of Lebanon and with the people of Iran. And we state unequivocally that Iran has a right to defend itself. I speak as a member of the EFF, but I've been involved in the liberation struggle in South Africa for 45 years. I've been a member of the Liberation Army of South Africa, of Umkhonto we Sizwe. And I know that in 1960, the United Nations passed a resolution that stated that all nations have the right to defend itself also by arms against colonial occupation. My dear friends, what we see here is colonial occupation. So the EFF has been clear, and I have been clear as a soldier of the liberation struggle, that the armed struggle of Hamas and Hezbollah is justified. We understand why the 7th of October last year happened. It was not in some kind of historical vacuum or bubble. We say it was justified. So the economic freedom fighters commit ourselves to support of Hamas and Hezbollah in the armed liberation struggle against apartheid Israel. And we have stated very clearly, and we made it clear on the 23rd of October last year when we had a massive gathering in front of the Israeli embassy in Pretoria, that the Israeli embassy must be closed and all diplomatic ties with Israel must be severed. It was the commander-in-chief of the economic freedom fighters, President Julius Malema, who tabled in Parliament a very important resolution calling for the Israeli embassy to be closed immediately and the Israeli ambassador to be kicked out of South Africa. That resolution was passed by an overwhelming majority. But we do need to register our sadness that President Ramaphosa has not yet implemented that resolution and has abused his executive powers not to do so. We call once again for the Israeli embassy to immediately be closed down, the Israeli ambassador immediately to be kicked out of South Africa, and we call for full financial and economic sanctions against apartheid Israel. Nombula Mokonyane said we must work towards getting sanctions implemented. The EFF goes further. We say we must take strong legislative decisions to ban all economic activity with Israel at all levels. Let me conclude. We need full solidarity. Deputy Minister Alvin Botha spoke about the need of solidarity as a multiplying factor. Now that should mean that all of us, from all political parties that are supportive of the sacred cause to freedom of the Palestinian people, must all stand together. There must be no factionalism. There must be no specific selection of those we work with and those we don't work with. I'm not going to ponder much on it. But yesterday, the economic freedom fighters joined the rally outside the US consul on number 1 Santon Drive that will soon have its name changed. But we were excluded by the organizers. When we pleaded for inclusion, we continued to be excluded. It was unnecessary. Please don't do that again. We all need to stand together. I was proud of my comrades, my fellow fighters, who came in their numbers yesterday to protest outside the US consulate. I am proud of my fellow fighters who today came in their numbers to participate in this 15th Walk for Freedom. We will not be silenced. We will not compromise on our strong positions. We will work with everyone who want to see the full freedom and full liberation of the people of Palestine. All of us together, because that is what the people of Palestine deserve. That is what the children, the mothers, the innocent blood of all civilians who passed on in that struggle, and also all soldiers who passed on. That is, oh yes, I'm concluding. Deputy Minister, yes, we've gone to the ICJ, supported that action. We lauded it, but we have to go much further. Now, kick out. And I'm calling you on Deputy Minister and the government and the President of South Africa, close that embassy. And Deputy Minister, search your heart. And you as a government, and especially those in the ANC, search your heart about being in a so-called government of national and the Freedom Front Plus, who are white supremacists and supporters of apartheid Israel. That is not where you should be. Viva Palestine, viva! Forward to full freedom for the people of Palestine, forward. From the river to the sea, Palestine shall be free. Thank you.
Thank you, comrades. You see why some people, they are afraid of change. All right, comrades, just a few more speeches. Just a few more messages from the ground. So these are people that came to us. We have a young family that's living with us in Lens. They are from Gaza. They were part of those that were evacuated. There are 3 girls, 2 boys, their mom that managed to escape. I cannot express that. People think that when people leave Gaza, that it's okay. They are okay. There's still a lot of support that's needed. But these are 3 young, brave sisters, and I'm going to call them to the stage because they're insisting they want to say something. So Safa, Marwa, and Iman want to give us a message. Can we welcome our young Palestinians to the stage? Our Ghazans.
Hello? I'm Safa. I'm 20 years old. I came to South Africa with my siblings, and I wanted to say something. تاريخ دموع أمهاتك وإيمان أطفالك وشجاعة رجالك وصمت جيرانك. Gaza, your history will be written with the blood of your martyrs, the tears of your mothers, the faith of your children, the bravery of your men, the silence of your neighbors. لا تعتد المشهد، هم لا يختلفون كثيرا عنه. كانت لهم أحلام وأمنيات، كان لهم أحباء تمنوا أن يقضوا حياتهم معهم، كان لهم أصدقاء يتشاركون معهم كل أوقاتهم، كانت لهم عائلة يحتمون بها وينتمون لها. لا تعتد المشهد، فهم لا يختلفون عنك. كانت لهم حياة وفي لمح البصر انتهى كل شيء. Don't get used to the sense. They're not much different from you. They had dreams and hopes. They had loved ones with whom they wanted to spend their lives. They had friends with whom they spent their time. They had families who protected them and to whom they belonged. Don't get used to the sense. They know different from you. They had love, and in a blink of an eye, everything ended. Just please make dua from my father and my other siblings to be okay. They're still in Gaza.
Labbaik, Allahumma labbaik. We are here. We are witnesses. We are present. Thank you, Safa. And inshallah, they will be free. We draw strength from your courage, from your resilience. We've got a few more messages. I'm going to ask Mohammed, who is also Palestinian and he's been working in our hospitals for a long time. One minute to say a few words. Mohammed.
Good day. I wasn't supposed to be a speaker. Just I got news earlier this morning, so I feel like it's a duty for me to share with you what's happening this morning. But before that, 42,000 Palestinians have been killed in the last year. 42,000. 42, this is almost 5% of the people. Among them, I have my father-in-law, few nieces, nephews, cousins, friends, colleagues. But the last one, and please remember this name, Murad Mustafa. Murad Mustafa is 35 years old. In April, he lost his wife and his son, Uday, 6 years old. Since then, almost every day, every second day, he will write a post on Facebook, mourning, losing his son and his wife and other family members. 2 days ago, he wrote, it happened so often in his dreams that he sees his son Uday. And when he tried to hug him, all of a sudden he would wake up and discover that was a dream. Early in this morning, an airstrike to a class in an UNRWA school in Gaza, Sirat camp, killed Murad Mustafa. I never met Murad Mustafa. I'm just following him on Facebook. Hopefully he will get some rest now. Hopefully this will be the last time for me to cry because of him. But please remember Murad Mustafa, his son Uday, because they are not numbers. They are not numbers. They are human beings that unfortunately, because of what happened, now their life was very, very, very short. Thank you for everyone.
Thank you, Mohammed. And I think it's important. There are many Palestinians, Comrade Mvula, Comrade Alvin, that have come to South Africa, that have been part of the evacuation. And we must engage, Comrade Frank. The demands are coming to us, the anti-apartheid movement, the South African chapter, into the PSA, into the BDS, for support for our Palestinians. You know, they only come on a 3-month visa, and we need to see how we can support them. Some of them have no means of going back to what is rubble. And we need to find a deeper meaning in terms of what our solidarity is and our actions on the ground. But there's also a lot of hope. We must not be in despair. One of those hopes is the number of organizations that have emerged and youngsters that are taking the struggle forward. We've seen it in campuses across the globe. We've seen the shifts and the change. And therefore, it's a pleasure for me to introduce Nasir Akatu from a new organization that has emerged that they are building. It's called Educators for Humanity. Nasira, for you, let's welcome her. She's very nervous, but she's a teacher, so she'll win.
Amandla! Educational revolutionaries, human rights defenders, and advocates for justice. We stand here today united by a deep commitment to education and the belief that learning is the foundation of every society. But right now in Palestine, that very foundation is being attacked. We are witnessing the devastating effects of scholasticide, the systematic destruction of Palestinian education. This is not just the bombing of schools or universities. It's a deliberate assault on the minds, dreams, and futures of an entire generation. To the students and teachers of Palestine, you are not alone. The world is watching, and we, as educators, are with you. We will continue to advocate, to support, and to work tirelessly until every child in Gaza, in the West Bank, and across Palestine has the safe, nurturing education they deserve. In the words of Nelson Mandela, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. Amandla!
Well done, comrades and friends. I'm going to do the closing remarks now, but I'd like Mohammed and Dr. Malik, Dr. Saluji, if Sumaya is around, to please come forward in the meantime. So we've heard today of the struggles of the Palestinian people, but I want to talk about the 7th of October. And I want us to recognize that it is a significant day for the Palestinian struggle because it's a day of resistance, a day of change. The 7th of October, for solidarity activists, gave us, and what followed from there, despite the most horrific war crimes and genocidal crimes, it has been a beacon of hope for us to see the resilience and the determination and the courage of the Palestinian people, like we saw with Safar. Saying no, they say, is a very important personal growth experience. And we have now learned to say no. We say no, not just as a statement against Zionism, but our saying no to all of their lies and their hypocrisy and their spinning of news. That for us is not just a statement. When they lie about the rapes and the beheadings, when their own helicopter gunships kill their own people, and that is fact. When the news does not report of anything before October 7th, the fact that Zionists had occupied all of Palestine and that the Gazans were living in an open-air prison, restricting even the calories of food to enter the Gaza Strip. We say no. And our saying no now, our voices, become an act of our own dignity and our dedication and declaration that we support all of humanity. What we have as our weapon is the truth. It's honesty. And we must hold on to this and tell our tale. Tell our story. Like Rafif said in his poem before dying, he said, let my death be a tale, let it tell a story. We must keep telling the truth and standing firm for justice because silence is complicity. We, as people who support and see what is right, must stand for what is right through our voices and our instruments on social media. When they tell their lies and their misrepresentations, we must demand the evidence because they don't have any. Our evidences are on the screens. They are the bodies. They are the maimed. They are the destroyed. And we've seen accepted from Hamas, the PFLP, Hezbollah, and all the factions because we as South Africans against a minority settler regime, and we will therefore continue supporting against the settler colonial regime. We are exposing the genociders and the hypocrites, including more and more investigations. But when it was Russia, 4 days, Russia was boycotted, kicked out of FIFA. And know that you are going to be challenged. So today, unfortunately, these arrogant colonizers, they usurp religion. And so they put the banners provoking a response from the solidarity on a shoe in Glenhove or somewhere. We will be there at 5 o'clock today. They put it up this morning because we will tell our truth. If you are saying there were rapes and beheadings, give us the evidence. Show us the evidence. Because all your accusations are actually admissions of guilt for what you do. When you say that there is rape, we know for a fact that you have raped prisoners, men and women, in the cells, in the dungeons of Israel. Our demands, comrades, are simple. I agree we need to relook at our trade agreements, but we must pass legislation for the full sanction against apartheid Israel. We together, and please understand, the solidarity in South Africa is united. People would like to tell you differently. The memorandum that was delivered yesterday, we worked on it together. I was in Cape Town last week drafting with them. It is one struggle. That struggle is saying sanctions against apartheid Israel, stop the coal exports, and we're going to push for the renaming of Leila Khalid tribe. But we also need your support on the ground. The sports boycott, like I said, will continue, and we will be in the face of Zionists, whether it's David Tiga or that guy from Cape Union, Matt. Know that we are coming for you. We know the Zionists are strong in their pushing a particular agenda. We know that their colonizing nature wants them to take Western Cape. We see the flights coming in. But if you live in South Africa, you live under our constitution, freedom of speech is guaranteed, we will speak up. There will be no racism. And comrades, those in government, can we start disarming their security forces? They have their own armies. We must make it illegal because they come and they intimidate. They have their own army, Comrade Ponti, of security forces. Let's be honest. G4, no, there's what, see something. They have their own, Comrade Mvula, security apparatus in this country. And we must do our intelligence. We must get the truth. And they are flying in by the numbers. Never. Right? That's our demand, that they must be arrested and charged in the Foreign Military Assistance Act. I want to say that one of the best things that has come out of this entire struggle in the last year is speaking truth to power. The voices that we've been carrying since you were 16 years old was voiced on an international scale when the whole world switched on to the anti-apartheid case at the ICJ led by our government. And we say, Amandla, we will fight on every front, legally, because that is what we have. But we will respect the right of the Palestinians to fight militarily to defend their homes and their dignity. With this, I want to say that we begin again tomorrow. It's a year, but we begin, it's a beginning. We begin and we will be stronger than before. We will be wiser than before. We will rise, we will help rebuild, and Palestine will reclaim its fundamental demands for freedom, justice, dignity, and equality for all. We wanted nothing less for South Africa and nothing less for the Palestinian people and those oppressed across the globe. With that, I'm going to conclude the program and thank everyone for our guests. There's a small reception for you, so please join us. It won't be too long. I know there's a program at Regina Mundi. And before we go, Mohammed, Dr. Malik, we found the check. Sumaya, if you can join Dr. Saluji in handing over it's a mock check because you don't use checks anymore, you know. There's it behind the yellow one. And please, it is not 2 million. Sumaya, our accountant, and Ibrahim have confirmed that 3 million has been handed over. Okay, and a big round to, you know, Lenasia is an amazing community. There's just too many organizations, community organizations, NGOs, security, CPF, ambulances. You saw some of the other organizations that do frail care, those that supply medical supplies like Fountain of Inspiration. There is just a wealth of community spirit and community action. And everyone has come on board today. I can say that we had close to 400 volunteers and marshals that came through for this event alone. That is phenomenal, phenomenal. The youngsters, everyone, our comrades from Orange Farm and Freedom Park, Amanda, thank you. All right. Okay, we're going to have a program in an hour's time. In this hall, it's a cultural program and there's some presentations that will happen there. But our guests have a reception quickly and we'll take it from there. Thank you.